going on, family? How is everybody doing? Get your libation, get your tea, get your whatever, and let's have a conversation. Please, please, please do not forget, we do housekeeping as we come in and get started and get ready for the show. So please do not forget, fam. Please do not forget to please hit that like button. Please hit that like button for me. Cost you absolutely nothing. If you are in here, hit the like button. Also, family, what else we got? If you want to donate, it's always $breakingbrown, or donatebrown.com, patreon.com/ycarnell. But you can also hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for me. Just hit that bell if you're not getting notifications. Subscribe to the channel. That absolutely helps. All of that good stuff. If you are not subscribed already to the channel, check and make sure that, check your subscribe and make sure your subscribe is set up right. And so that you haven't gotten unsubscribed and no kind of weird thing happened to you, because we don't want that to happen. Now listen, the 10th, and don't forget, tomorrow we will be doing, I don't think I got to it last month. Something happened, a lot of stuff happened. So don't forget that tomorrow we will be doing the all call-in show. Tomorrow, 9:30, the all call-in show. So if you have been in the calls, we've had the lines are always full. So if you have been here, please, please, please just call in tomorrow if you want to have a conversation about whatever you want to have a conversation about. So whatever you want to kind of discuss, we can discuss. We're going to do that tomorrow. Remember, we try to do it the third Thursday, but last month we skipped it, or I skipped it, because there was so much going on. Anyway, also do not forget, on December the 10th, The Half Has Never Been Told. That is our book club book. The Half Has Never Been Told. Please, 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 please make sure that you pick up that book. It's a longer book. Got some small print. Not too small, but small enough. So make sure you pick that up so you can get through it by that time. If you're like me, I am not. You know, the other books, I think I read them like the week before, just to kind of have them fresh in my mind. But I'm not a fast reader. I can't read this fast. It's kind of dense. So make sure you pick that up and take care of that and do everything that you got to do. Now we got to get right down to business, family. Right down to business. We got to have a discussion. Now listen, somebody called and went off a while ago about Warnock and what was the strategy and this, that, and the other thing. And you know, this was before all of this happened. Now, I said during that call, I'll vote for him. I will, but I think we have to understand that's not a solution. We did Democratic down ballot for a specific reason. You see, let me just show you something. When you see this image kind of went around, when you saw Kamala fist bumping Lindsey Graham after Lindsey Graham done allegedly and supposedly said that he tried to get some votes thrown out in Georgia. That's what they saying. And they fist bumping. So what you begin to understand is that what we say means stuff don't mean stuff to a lot of people. What we believe in, people don't necessarily believe in. So I want to take that all the way to, we have a problem in quote unquote black politics. There is a black politics problem, and that problem keeps coming back up. And right now it's coming back up in the Georgia Warnock race. Right? Leffler has more money than you can shake a stick at. But we can't talk about that money or how she got that money or how she keep telling us, I was raised on a little farm and I picked weeds out of the soybean fields. And we can't say nothing about that because weeds, that's not supposed to be an issue. Except for the fact that that really is the only issue. How did you get to keep your farm and we lost our farms? That wasn't no little farm. You used that farm to leverage that farm into the what is she, a billionaire, a multi-millionaire? It's a multi-millionaire. We don't even talk about how you got there and we're here, right? How you got to keep everything and we couldn't even get loans. Remember who Obama fired? Y'all remember Shirley Sherrod? Y'all remember Obama firing her? Or he had the Department of Ag pulled over on the side of the road and let her go for nothing. You remember that? She talked a lot about that, the racism. Can't get loans, you can't be here. You're going to need loans. We didn't get it. How'd you get to keep your farm? But we can't talk about that because Leffler unleashes onslaught against Warnock in Georgia race for Senate. So I want you all to understand how the stuff that we need talked about, we can't get it talked about. We can't have the kind of discussions that we need because we're running raceless races. We have to become raceless. Or like Obama, you already have to be raceless when you enter the race. You cannot win on race, being raceless. And so what Reverend Wright is doing and what he's proven, as he keeps coming back in these races, you can't be a true black liberation theologian and then come back here and try to be different. It ain't gonna work. It's holding people accountable. So let's just before we get into all that, let's just see what happened. Let's see what she done spent a bunch of money on. Because she don't need to raise a bunch of money. She got that in her account. At the campaign event in Marietta on Wednesday, her first of the runoff election, Loeffler went after Warnock for working for a church 25 years ago that invited the Cuban dictator Fidel Castro for an event and claimed he currently holds Marxist ideology, even though he is a capitalist and a Christian. Another Loeffler campaign ad attacks Warnock for honoring Pastor Jeremiah Wright in 2008, even though five years earlier Wright gave a now infamous sermon defined by 3 words: "Goddamn America." Y'all remember that, don't you? The attack is a callback to the 2008 presidential campaign, when Democratic candidate Barack Obama gave a pivotal speech on race relations in America after being criticized for his association with Wright. Warnock has also said that Loeffler wants to divide Georgia and distract from her opposition to the Affordable Care Act and the health care insurance it provides to millions of people in the middle of a pandemic. See, that's what we're running on right now. We're running on health care. We just running on healthcare because that's what you got to do. You a black man, right? You just got to run on healthcare. He also defended his record in response to a question regarding Wright, who has a history of anti-Semitic comments. Warnock said he spent his whole career standing up against bigotry, hatred, xenophobia, wherever it shows up and whoever the source is. In a response to Loeffler's TV ad that he hosted a rally for Castro, Warnock said that he had nothing to do with inviting the late Cuban despot to speak at Abyssinian Church in New York City in 1995. Woo, they going back where he lived, where he then served as a youth pastor. Going all the way back. Let me just read this last little bit before we get to the meat of the thing. Warnock has reiterated throughout the campaign that he does not support defunding the police, has deep respect for law enforcement, but wants the country to have equal protection under the law. He has called America the greatest country on earth. Now let me tell you something, family. Let's just get into it right quick. We got to get into it because these are the ads and you know, these are the ads that you're seeing. If you're in Georgia, these are the ads that you're seeing right now that are likening Warnock to Jeremiah Wright. Reverend Jeremiah Wright is about to get hot in this Georgia kitchen. Right? It's about to get hot in here. But as we, you know, a lot of people, you never agree with everything a person says. That just never happens. So even in terms of Reverend Wright, even in terms of he talks about things in a global way that may not be my particular recipe in terms of what ADOS needs and what ADOS needs to be right now. That is absolutely true. So I don't have 100% agreement with nobody. So don't put it that way. You can say some things that I agree with and some things that I disagree with. But let me just say something. This idea that you can be and represent black people. I mean, when I say black, I'm talking about ADOS centrally in terms of the people who have been here and everybody else. This idea, but us in terms of people who come from chattel slaves. This idea that you can represent us by condemning the truth is a problem. See, because if you go back, and we've all been there. I voted for Obama the first time, and I said, well, maybe he's just causing too much of a fluff. You have to sometimes have to do stuff for political expediency. Now we hear, now we see what political expediency got us. It got rid of Jeremiah Wright, and we got Obama, and we got nothing but the evisceration of what little black wealth we had and a bunch of white millionaires. Let's revisit that again. Because if we're talking, let me help everybody understand something. If we're talking about scripture, if we're talking about the Bible, you can't run from that. You're a reverend, Warnock. If you are a black reverend, if you are an ADOS reverend, you are called on to speak hope to the hopeless. That's what you're called on to do. Now, I see what you said here. Let's bring it up a little bit bigger. Let's bring it up a little bit bigger because you got some whitewashing of Dr. King here. You Ebenezer, and you can't speak truth to power. Well, he can't get elected, Yvette. If he do that, he can't get elected. Well, he don't deserve to get elected then. You don't deserve. Let me speak to white America real quick. If we can't even if we can't talk about race as the group that's been afflicted by the creation of race, which was something that was created to oppress us, if we can't speak full-throatedly about our testimony, if we don't have nothing else, we're supposed to have our testimony. If you have robbed that from us, if you have stripped that of us, that's probably I think that's probably the best and the greatest and the most evil trick of the devil. I can't even talk about myself. Y'all remember when Michelle Obama said the first time I was proud of my country and came out and that casket, oh my God, the first time you ought to be ashamed of yourself. Who? Do you know your history? Do you know what you've done to us? Who? We're not allowed to have a testimony. We are only allowed to be raceless people in a country that's built on race. In a country that tells us it's to the bottom. We have to, in order to get elected, pretend that's not true. We have to pretend that did not happen. We have to pretend that we are not who we are. Then what's the point of you getting elected? So when I bring this up, let me bring this back up real quick. Dr. King said that out of all the inequalities, injustice in healthcare is the most shocking and the most inhumane. Georgians need someone who will fight for their affordable health care. Let me break something down to you, Mr. Warnock, respectfully. Respectfully. Dr. King took a bullet for Negroes. He took a bullet on a balcony for I'm not saying he wasn't willing to coalition. Everybody is willing to coalition when we have the same goals and we can have a shared outcome and it will benefit our people. Right? You'll do it if it's going to benefit your people. Why wouldn't you do it? If we have to say, listen, we want this and we want this. Okay, we can help you with that. You can help us with this? Okay. He didn't take a bullet on that balcony for affordable health care for all. He took a bullet on that balcony because he had been too much and had too much success in terms of fighting the Negroes. And he had turned a corner in terms of reparations. That's why he died. That's why he was murdered on that balcony. You gotta not whitewash King. You cannot whitewash ADOS life. You cannot whitewash what we've been through. You cannot deny us of our testimony. So what? Yvette, he might not get elected. Then so what? You know what that means? That means America don't deserve black politicians. If we can't be us, everybody else can be them. Everybody else can get in office and do whatever they want to do and support however many people they support and do it however they want to do it, and they don't have to worry about none of this stuff that we're worrying about. We are the most afflicted by race, and we can't even tell our own story. You talk about oppression. If you can't tell your own story, how oppressed are you? I don't care what kind of nice shirt or nice shoes, nice socks you got on. How oppressed are you if you cannot tell your own story? Now let's just revisit this whole Reverend Wright thing really quickly. Let's revisit what Obama said, because this is how I'm going to show you that this stuff is not going to work. We can vote for you. I'm willing to do it. I don't, because it is what it is. That woman got from more money than Lord of mercy, the little small demigod. She got more. Best of luck. But this can't work long term. And Obama's transcript proves that. Obama gives us, this is how you get elected, but it's not how we get free. You might win as an individual, but we don't get free through this right here. You know who else you got? You got, what's the lady's name? McBath in Cobb County doing the same thing, running on gun control when her child got murdered because of racism. We ain't gonna keep doing this. Now here we go with Obama and his BS. You know, I have been a member of this. Remember, this was during the elections, like 2008. You know, I have been a member of Trinity United Church of Christ since 1992. I have known Reverend Wright for almost 20 years. This is Obama. The person I saw yesterday, and this is Obama after Reverend Wright went to the National Press Club. The person I saw yesterday was not the person that I met 20 years ago. His comments were not only divisive and destructive, but I believe that they end up giving comfort to those who prey on hate. And I believe they do not portray accurately the perspective of the black church. You a lie. And I had to realize that later. Obama, what would you know about the perspective of the black church? They certainly don't portray accurately my values and belief. And if Reverend Wright thinks that that's political posturing, as he puts it, then he doesn't know me very well. And based on his remarks yesterday, well, I may not know him very well either. You didn't know, not only did you not know Reverend Wright, you didn't know black people in general, except but to mimic us for your campaign. We found out later. It's okay. Let me just close by saying this. Still Obama. We started this campaign with the idea that the problems that we face as a country are too great to continue to be divided, that in fact, all across America, people are hungry to get out of the old divisive politics of the past. I have spoken and written about the need for us to all recognize each other as Americans, regardless of race or religion or region of the country. See how that worked out. Trump got elected right after you. Failure. The only way we can deal with critical issues like energy and healthcare again, and education and the war on terrorism is if we are joined together. And the reason our campaign has been so successful is because we have moved beyond old arguments. What we saw yesterday out of Reverend Wright was a resurfacing and, I believe, an exploitation of those old divisions. Whatever his intentions, that was the result. It is antithetical to our campaign. It is antithetical to what I am about. It is not what I think America stands for. Let me tell y'all something. That was a whole white man talking. And we were so caught up in his look and his affectation and how he was mimicking us and walking around and giving people pounds and high fives. We didn't see it. And that's it's okay, because that's what the con was. The con was meant for us not to see it. The con was meant for us to think that Barack Obama was a black man with a white mama. What we didn't understand is Obama was a white man with a black daddy, with a Kenyan daddy. That's what it was. And it was meant that way because everybody knew we were anchored in melanin as opposed to anchored in lineage. But let me tell you something. Things done changed. So we see Obama for who he is, and we see Reverend Jeremiah Wright, all his flaws, for who he was as well. That was a prophetic truth. Right? That came out of black liberation theology. If you go back and listen to what Reverend Wright said, he said that the slave worships a different Jesus and a different God than the slave owner. And you have to preach to the hopeless. You as a black pastor, if you're talking about blackness in this country, you are preaching hope to the hopeless. You are not preaching racelessness to white people. That is not going to work. It may get you somewhere. It may get you to the Senate, but it is not going to help us win or get anywhere because it misrepresents us and what we've been through to white America anyway. Well, he might not get elected. Okay, so Obama might not have gotten elected. So what? Why should I care? If you're not going to be able to do something to position yourself to do something specifically for this group, I don't know why I care anyway. I don't know what is supposed to make me feel some kind of way that I don't feel. Let's go here really quick because we got to go, because this is remember this sermon? Obama's pastor, because and Obama said something very interesting too. But I think this quote comes up. Obama's pastor, God damn America, U.S. to blame for 9/11. Everybody went crazy. An ABC News review of dozens of Rev Wright sermons offered for sale by the church found repeated denunciations of the U.S. based on what he described as his reading of Gospels and the treatment of Black Americans. Well, that's what you want in a pastor. You want a pastor to speak specifically to you. Who don't want that? The government gives them drugs, builds bigger prisons, passes a 3-strike law, and then wants us to sing God Bless America. No. God damn America. That's the Bible for killing innocent. That's in the Bible for killing innocent people, he said in 2003 sermon. God damn America for treating our citizens less than human. God damn America for as long as she acts like she is God and is supreme. Please understand something. Please understand something, ladies and gentlemen. You know, in the Bible, justice is not something that's just mentioned once or twice, 3 times. It's in there a lot. Justice shows up remarkably in every book of the Bible. And people are punished throughout the Bible for injustice. What Jeremiah Wright said is absolutely biblical. That chickens come, how many times, didn't Malcolm talk about chickens coming home to roost too? How many times have you heard Black religious people talk about chickens coming home to roost? That's what happens. The Bible ain't nothing but something, it's in terms of like what it does, there's no way you can talk about the Bible without talking about how it condemns injustice. Nothing but that. You can just put it just as that if you wanted to. Condemning injustice. Wait a minute. Hold on. We're not supposed to talk about injustice where it comes to us? We're not supposed to talk about the Bible condemning injustice when it relates to ADOS? No. We can't talk about that. We can't talk about the misdeeds of America when it slavery, red line, and all of that. Oh, no. You can't talk about that. How dare you say that? How dare you do that? How dare you do that? How dare you do that and then tell us what we can't say? And then you as a pastor, I'm talking to you, Reverend Warnock, because I assume you're still a pastor, not just a politician. Then you come out and you become raceless too. Well, Martin Luther King Jr. was about, you can't even have a Bible app these days. It just sends you all these love quotes. It was a whole lot more stuff in there than love. No? So we're not supposed to have anything that speaks to us. We're not supposed to talk about how those 400 years, that was over in 2019, America's 2020. What you gonna do? We don't get to talk about that? Oh, I forgot. Yeah. We gotta be raceless. Oh, no, I'm just here for healthcare. I'm just here to make sure that everybody, it's COVID. You understand, it's COVID, and Leffler is about to take your health care. I like puppies, and I cut my pizza with a knife and a fork. That's what she says. You're going to hear a lot of negative ads about me. Homeboy, you talk like that. Like, what is going on here? See, the thing is, if you are a pastor too, I don't care. You are a pastor. You was at King's Church, MLK. You don't get to be raceless because the thing that built you was race. The thing that built you was who? You don't get to come back and be raceless. Like I said just a minute ago, what you're doing is preaching hope to the hopeless. You get to be honest. You get to give our testimony. That's it. This raceless love talk. All of these people around here, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on with Georgia. Everybody talk crazy. You got Stacey Abrams out there. I just know, it's going to be, what I want is for Georgia to be the best place for people of all, everywhere. Where'd y'all grow up? Nobody's going to speak the truth of it. You're not going to talk about why you got out them student loans, Stacey. You're just going to turn the octave up in your voice, and you're going to sound like this, and I'm going to work really hard. Oh, Stacey. Oh, Warnock. What is wrong? I don't know what's happening. Because like I said, we can agree and disagree with Reverend Wright, but he said some true stuff. He said more true stuff than wrong stuff. He said a lot more true stuff. Right? Than wrong stuff. We can agree to disagree. But I will stand with anybody that stood for ADOS more than I'll stand for anybody else. If you stood for my group, I'll stand for you all day. Even if I got all kinds of problems with some of the stuff, I don't care. I'll stand with somebody who has the courage of their convictions rather than a careerist any day, all day of the week. Know that. So here's some of what, this is 2015. And they tried to paint it, Jeremiah Wright is still angry with Barack Obama. Well, he had every right to be. Barack Obama just threw him under the bus. I didn't see it then. Maybe y'all didn't either, but I saw it on Inauguration Day. But let me just put this up real quick. Here's a quote from Reverend Wright back then. Our African American president, he don't want to talk about reparations. It's not personal responsibility. You're missing the point. Let's talk about white on black crime. Oh, if you talk about it, you got to go back so far. You got to go back to slavery. You got to go all the way back to the lynchings. Oh, you got to go back so far. During that time, though, I don't know if you know, Reverend Wright, Obama was under a coconut tree in Hawaii, so he might not know. See, if you become raceless, you can't talk about that. If you want to just say, I'm Stacey Abrams. Oh, hi, I'm Raphael Warnock. How are you? I ain't never seen nobody. Let me say this. Let me just say this real quick before I go on with Reverend Wright, that article. Let me just say this. Y'all remember this ad? I ain't never seen an ad like this. And I'm going to vote for him, but that's probably going to be the last time. I got to figure something out. We got to move people because I can't keep having this. This is madness that these people keep just being raceless and have a whole life built on race and MLK and everything else, and they raceless. I can't do it. I got to figure something out. We got to figure something out, family. We got to. This ad right here, family. This ad took me all the way out. Let me tell you. People say, well, he's in Georgia. Well, then you're going to have to not do that. You got to stay at the church. You can't run in if you can't say what you got to say. He said, I was in a store. I don't know if you all who don't live here don't know. He said, I was in a store and I was pulled out of the store because I had my hands in my pockets and I looked suspicious. And he went on to say that that's unfair, that kind of thing is unfair, and unfairness happens, and he gonna change it. I ain't never seen nobody have a ad that's about race, about being mistreated as a black person, especially a black man in a store, and didn't mention race at all. That was real smooth and slick, but I called it and I said, ooh, that's raceless. So the people, ADOS people will hear that and say, oh, he's about race. Everybody else will say, no, he just said we gotta do for everybody. I don't want to play this game. I don't know if you get past the queen of money. Even with my little vote, I don't know if you get past it. I just want everybody to understand that this ain't going to work. These raceless Negroes are not going to work. You made a whole race video about how you got racially profiled in the supermarket, and then you didn't say nothing about race. You got, Lucy McBath in Cobb County, who talks all the time about, oh, I'm in favor of fighting gun violence. My son died because of gun violence. Your son died because a white man decided to spray up a car full of Negroes, full of young Negro boys. That was a racist incident, but you have a job now. Oh my God, this is not the politics that we need. This ain't gonna work. Whether you win or whether you lose, it still ain't gonna work. I know some people are committed to the idea that this kind of racist politics works, but I'm telling you, Obama proved to us. If you haven't seen this ad, please go watch this ad. If this proved to us, Obama proved to us that this don't work. Not for us. It may work for careerist politicians, but it won't work for us. It will not work. Let me go back to this really quick. I was talking about Jeremiah. Hold on. Something else Jeremiah said. Hold on 1 second. Ooh-wee. People don't understand. This stuff is not going to work. One of the reasons America, this was him, the same article, 2015, has never confessed to its original sin is that the confession means repentance, and repentance means you got to pay, he said. That's not black people. See, this is what we disagree. But remember, he's talking pre-ADOS. We made this stuff understandable and digestible, because I was even on like, what did NAACP say? One thing they say I had to realize later the NAACP is wrong. So he said not getting a check next week is structural issues, but it's not just that. You do get a check. You have to, and there have to be protections for that check. We have to be spotted owls. That has to happen. Can't touch us. Hands off. He followed that with an extended metaphor about sheepdogs. Once they're trained to protect a flock, he said, they'll fight against even dogs from their own litter, he declared. We got a lot of sheepdogs in the African American community. He didn't name any names. He didn't really have to. No, he didn't. But let's be very clear. It's not just Obama and our sheepdogs. The sheepdogs that we have on Capitol Hill, their job is to protect the Democratic Party. Their job as sheepdogs. Y'all saw Clyburn when how many of y'all remember? How many of y'all remember when Clyburn he said something? Let me know if y'all remember. Y'all remember when Clyburn said something about Democrats not having enough diversity on their staffs? Y'all remember that? How many people remember that? How many people out there remember that? I just want to know. Make sure I got through all my points. But I just want to know, how many of y'all remember that? Do y'all remember how Nancy Pelosi ran him back inside his office and told him to shut up? She said he came out. He said, "Well, I was mistaken, and we've done a lot. I don't know what I was saying. I don't know what I was saying. Snuff butt cup. You ever seen a Negro just start dancing just to try to take your eye off of what they were saying? Well, you just said no. I said cut a rug. Shut butt. That's what he did. He ran out there. He had a whole different view. We got a lot of sheepdogs. Reverend Wright was right. We got a lot of sheepdogs, especially in our politics. Because let me just help everybody understand something. You see, you can't be. You got to be the same person all the way around. You can't be this person and then come around later. You know, you can't talk to Fox News and then come around later and say, you know, I'm a run and I just love everybody. Well, you said then, Reverend Wright, we celebrate Reverend Wright. You got to be that man all the time. And we can't be a people that runs away from arguments on race. We can't run away from arguments about race because listen, don't nobody stand on the square. These some fallen Negroes. Don't nobody want to stand on the square of us. All other groups, everybody stand on their square. I don't care whether you Palestinian. I don't care whether you Israeli. I don't care what square you got to stand on. Everybody else stands on their square. We get on the square and jump off. Oh, shucks, I was on a Negro square. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. We want to run as raceless. We want to run as like, hi, how are you? The problem is that's a whole fiction. That's the problem. And you're not helping a specific group. You're not helping us when you do that. And when you do that, it becomes the standard. So let me tell you what happens. So if you run raceless, when you get to become a senator or whatever, the expectation is for you to be raceless. We're not like everybody else. Stop telling me, well, Yvette, they get to go to Congress and do whatever they want to do. And they get to go, and why we can't do it? And how come we can't do it? And why we not saying, you didn't know who you was? You didn't know where you come from? You didn't know you were ADOS? Well, let me tell you, you don't get to do that. Whatever standard you set for yourself right now, that's what you got to abide by. And you're being as raceless as possible to get elected. What that means is that once you get there, you got to be as raceless as possible to stay elected. You don't get to switch up. You don't know who you are. And if you don't know who you are, that's not my problem. You got a mirror. Look into it. Look into your background. Look into your lineage. I don't know what to tell you about not understanding who you are. We have a group of people that's just not inclined to kind of debate race and debate why this is important and debate why white America is wrong. I'm not talking about the ones that we have that vote with us on reparations or agree with us. I'm talking about in the main. We won't even make the argument anymore. You said then, did you say about him being a preacher and a prophet? Why can't you stand on that? Because he was way more right than wrong. And about Obama, he was 100% right. And when he talked about the black church, he was 100% right. Obama said in his own message, he loved what Wright did outside the church more than inside the church. You know what that meant? That meant he liked Reverend Wright's reach in terms of what it got for him. Obama's always been a selfish person. You tell me who you are, and you tell me through your actions. And understand one thing. I need everybody to understand one thing. Everybody wants to say, well, you can't get elected. You can't get elected, Yvette, if you deal with race. Please understand something, though. For me, just understand this. Running away from race is running away from justice. Let me say that again. Running away from race is running away from justice. And I don't care who you think you need to be or how calculated you think you need to be. When you run away from that, you run away from justice. When you run away from that, you run away from that Bible that you say that you were a part of and you preach. You ran all the way away from it. Why? To be a part of government? The only good reason to be a part of government is to serve the people that you're supposed to serve. If you're running away from it, what kind of a servant are you? Now people will say, well, Yvette, we might not have if we go your way, we might not have no ADOS politicians at all. We might not even have no black politicians. So be it. Then we can ask white America the question, why can't we be ourselves in this country? Why do we have none of our politicians? What have you done to us that we have none of our politicians in places of power? Then we can ask the real question. Because right now, y'all are just standing in the way of the real question by being frauds, by being raceless. What did Antonio call them? Chocolate colored Negroes, chocolate covered white people. That's not what we need. If you have to give up all of yourself and all of your lineage and all of your history to be this thing, that's not what we need. You're no good for us. If you do all of that, you're no good for us or to us. It just is what it is. I didn't make it that way. It just is what it is. You are no benefit to us in terms of specificity. Now, in terms of class-based politics, you might be good. That might be great. But this ain't good enough. It's not good enough. And it's not going to work. Whether I vote for you or all of Georgia votes for you, this ain't good enough. This ain't going to work. This may be a win for you. It's not a win for the collective. And the one thing that I always say is that I'm about collective uplift. I'm not about your individual uplift. I can't be with you if you don't have no fire in your belly. Because this woman got a lot of money. And we don't even want to talk about where she got the money from. We just want to what? What we want to do? When Reverend Jeremiah Wright did his thing, if you go look, one thing I want y'all to look at. If you go look at Reverend Wright's speech at the National Press Club, you will see that he talked about, like I said, he talked about reconciliation. And he talked about what that meant. Like, how can you do it? That's what the whole damning of America was about. It was about justice and reconciliation. You can't have reconciliation without justice. And I just have a hard time believing that any politician, let alone any pastor, Ebenezer Church, who can't talk full-throatedly about justice, is going to do us much good. Now, you'll be better than the others. And I committed to it, so I'll vote for you. I don't think it'll make much difference in terms of how you vote, because I think what you'll end up being is a Democrat who just follows Nancy Pelosi's lead. Because if you can't talk full-throatedly about justice for ADOS now, I don't see you doing that later on. If you can't talk about it during the campaign, if you can't talk about Leffler and all that money, if you can't talk about that, I don't see you being able to talk about anything that pertains to us with any specificity. I just don't see it. And I'm not saying that. Listen, I met Warnock before. I'm not trying to. This just is what it is. I just have to tell the truth. I don't have any choice but to tell the truth. I would love it if it had been different. I would, but it's not. It's just not different. I can't be in a world where we are already condemned by race and the creation of race. So we're a people condemned by race and the creation of race, but we're forced to be raceless. I can't do that. I don't want no parts of that. I can't do it. It just is what it is. So, one of the things we have to figure out as we go forward is, how do we move? What do we do? In terms of having elections, who do we support? How do we support those people? We have to talk about that. And one of the things that I will say is this. If you are going to be an ADOS pastor, if you are going to be an ADOS politician, you're going to have to be willing to risk what King risked outside on that balcony. Because you represent the most afflicted. And if you can't tell the story and demand justice for the most afflicted, what good are you to us? If you can't sit yourself and situate yourself in that church and feel the spirit of King calling on you to tell the story of the most afflicted, what good are you to us? If the only thing you can talk about is health care for all, given what you know about us and given what King died for us, what good are you to me? What good are you to the group? Listen. Any pastors out there listening, y'all got to be willing to take the hard route. I'm sorry. I've said it 4 times during this show. You are preaching hope to a largely hopeless people that's been oppressed 400 years. You got to be able to preach hope and preach the experience and the testimony of that people. If you can't do that, then you're worthless. And there's nothing worse. Hey, you can die destitute, you can die alone, whatever. There's nothing worse than being worthless. There's nothing worse than being worthless to your own people. There's nothing worse than that. That's a plight worse than death. And that's who you are if you won't tell that testimony. And if you won't make a demand for the people who've been afflicted. If you want to drape yourself in the ways of people who are not yours, that is a problem. And you are not worth anything to us if you are willing to do that, to get in the office of power, to get next to power. If you're willing to do anything to get next to power, to have a proximity to power, you are not worth that to us. If you have to lie about our testimony or pretend that we're not the people that we are, you are not worth anything to us. Understand during this pandemic, understand what we're going through. Please look at this. Let me just put this up really quickly. What we're going through in this pandemic is unlike what anybody else is going through. Yes, a lot of people getting laid off. It's not the same for everybody though. What happens to us? Let me read this really quickly. From April to June of this year, 13% of jobless black workers received unemployment benefits compared with 22% for Hispanic workers and 24% for white workers, according to the analysis for Niana Brown and William Spriggs at Howard University. Spriggs, also chief economist at the AFL-CIO, said black people are more likely to work in service industry jobs not covered by unemployment assistance programs and live in southern states that were slow to roll out benefits. He said that to address the imbalance, Congress and the new administration would have to redesign unemployment insurance programs instead of just renewing the current program when it lapses at the end of this year. So I want you to please understand that we are not other groups. 400 years, multi-generational oppression. How you represent me is being able and willing to sacrifice for me. That's how you represent all of us. This era of thinking that anybody sees you, and I don't even know what kind of joke. People saw Obama as different because he was. He was raised by white people. He was different. You are not going to change yourself into a raceless person by kind of changing your voice or whatever, or wearing a blue shirt or what. That's not, they see you how they see you. Your job is the job of testimony. When people hear you speak, they should quake in their boots. Not because of how good you are at oratory, but because of the truth that you tell. How are you a preacher and you don't know how to tell the truth of the people that you represent? And let's say that these people, because they racist, I said a little while ago, we need better white people. The problem ain't winning the white vote. The problem is we don't have enough of the, white people have to transform. That never happens though if you don't keep speaking that truth. That never happens though if your story robs us of testimony. We out here drowning. You talking about, well, the things the king talked about was health care. Don't work that way. So give me a minute, fam. Set up the phones. I'll let you all come in and we'll have the conversation. But if you saw the ads, if you in Georgia, let me know. If you saw the ads, let me know what you think, how this is going to end, what it's going to look like. People, the Senate is in swing. But give me a few minutes to set up the calls, and I will be right back. Fam, we are back, and I am going to go to the first callers of the night. So let's get back, let's get all the way back to it, and then to it, but to do it. I'm going to 346. 346. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Miss Lady, how you doing?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Oh, man, right. All right, how you doing?
I'm all right.
Yeah, a couple of things. I'm sorry. I'm going to say a couple of things, and I'm going to go on. But first of all, one of the things we're not looking at is that Jeremiah Wright's First Amendment, Jeremiah Wright's First Amendment right was violated. You know, what go on in that man's church is supposed to stay in the church. Hello?
He was selling DVDs though. Like I think once you export your stuff, people are gonna look at. Like it's a given to me that people are gonna look at. And First Amendment right is not like exclusive. Like it's complicated.
Man, that's going on in the church regardless of whatever he's teaching. I don't see that the Ku Klux Klan sells DVDs too. You don't see them making a big government issue about it. And the thing of it is, whatever church Obama goes to, that's his business. That man should not have to go out and explain to the world what he teaches.
Well, here's what I disagree. I disagree because Obama is in your church and he's running for president, right? And I think that when you're in a church and you're running, people want to know, okay, what is your theological perspective? And so if your church, if your pastor says a certain thing, I don't think they're wrong for bringing it up because that's what happens in campaigns anyway. I think everybody's wrong for saying that what he said about that goddamn he was talking about biblical condemnation and like what happens when people sin and injustice and hurt innocent people. That's defensible. That's my issue. But I don't see anything wrong with it coming up.
Well, you know, when these diehard, I'm proud to be American too. But these diehard American, mostly Klan folks, you know how they thinking. First thing they think when a black man say that, automatically he's trying to start a rebellion, and next thing you know, he's gonna start trying to kill white folks. You know how they think.
Yeah, because they know what they did. Yeah, I know how they think but they're thinking that because you know what you and your people have been guilty of. That don't have nothing to do with me though.
You know,
you know, in terms of like what. Yeah,
I agree. I agree. You know what? I'm gonna tell you something else. When we keep on talking about reparations, it's only one way we're gonna get them reparations. We have to take total political power. That means we got to get in there and take all the major seats. We got to get our money together. We got to start. We're gonna have to end up partnering with some other race of people because they using us anyway. This time we're gonna have to pull that power back and use it for ourselves. I tell people all the time, there's no way we're gonna have anything without having political power in this country.
Well, I agree with that. But I have a better question for you though. How do we have political power without being political people? We have people. We have a community.
That's what I'm saying, though. That's what I just say. We gonna have to take.
But you. I think you putting the cart before the horse. And I'm gonna say that I appreciate you, fam. I'm gonna let you go so I can get some other people in. But But I think you putting the cart before the horse. We don't even have a big political group in terms of, listen, we've done a lot as ADOS, like getting reparations. The only reason reparations is talked about right now is because of ADOS, right? The only reason that Kamala struggled so hard during her campaign and floundered and got picked back up by Joe was because of ADOS. But even us, like you look at our channels, like white people can be playing with dolls and have like 2 million followers. We'll have a whole political channel and be at 80K. What that speaks to though is a group that doesn't really want to engage seriously in politics. I don't know how you take over any kind of political apparatus. I'm not saying you can't be influential. That's what we're doing. But he said take over. I don't know how you take over an apparatus and you have a group of people that still don't want to be political. And the ones who do want to be political don't want to hear anything but you. They just want to slap a Joe Biden stick on the side of their face and tell you to shut up. That's why, in terms of what I've been talking about in terms of ADOS as the organization, that's why in terms of the 501c4, that's why my whole mission is, one, to make sure that we clean up our media. We got too many people out here have been saying negative stuff. The second thing, though, that we have to do is not just that. We got to grow. And we might have some conversations tomorrow night about, how everybody, somebody brought it up to me today, how everybody deals with their family. If you're going to be around somebody for Thanksgiving, I don't know if y'all had COVID tests. I don't know what y'all doing. But if you're going to be around those people, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with people who are stuck on stupid in terms of politics? How do you deal with people that view you as a traitor because you won't vote for a person who cozied up to segregationists like Biden? So maybe we talk about that a little bit tomorrow night too. So, but let me get to the next caller, fam. Let me get to it. I'm going to 415. 415, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, it's Liz from San Francisco.
Hey, Liz,
thanks
what's going
for the show
on?
tonight. I'm calling because I'm really frustrated. It seems like black people are always going to be the sacrificial lambs for this country. And, like, since the start of this country, we're learning in our book club book that there's so many people who went against their convictions and their morals when it came to the suffering of black people. And it seems that it has just become this tradition in this country. Like, I saw that interview with Andrew Yang at the Breakfast Club interview, and he pretty much said, oh yeah, this country was built on the backs of black people, but in regards to reparations, black people are going to be paid out last. And people get upset when other black people criticize other black politicians. And we have to, get out of that, because when these black politicians adopt those same principles of, like, either not acknowledging race, erasing race, or diminishing blackness, they have to be called out. So I appreciate this show. It's very informative. And, the other thing I want to say is, like, the way that some of these black politicians are being used on the Democratic side is very similar to, like, what, how Candace Owens and Officer Tatum are with the Republicans. Like, it's just the flip side. It's not that different.
Nope.
It's just to suppress black people in this country, and it needs to stop.
Well, you know what I'll say to that, though? The only way it stops is if we stop it, right? And see, that's we're kind of the vanguard of that. See, you can't have, like, that's why I call ADOS like this sleeping giant, because once we wake up, everything shakes. Like, we can. I don't think people really understand the power that we have, because so many of us are asleep. We're either asleep in terms of on some stupid stuff. I ain't never gonna vote because it don't do nothing. It don't do nothing for me. I'm never gonna engage the political system. Or we're on some stupid stuff as I'm just gonna vote Democrat no matter what. I don't have any I'm not gonna do no advocacy. I'm just gonna believe in Joe Biden, like, or believe in whoever the Democrat is, because it wasn't just him. We had a whole history of doing that. So I think that what we have to do is wake up to whatever agenda is best for us. If we wake up, that moves the whole politics. We still the largest vote group. I don't care what people say about Latinos, because Latinos is not a solid group. That's what we saw in this whole election. There are a whole bunch of people that you have a whole bunch of Latinos that are Republican, way more than us. You have a whole bunch who are Democrat. These are a bunch of disparate groups. You should call them by the country that they come from, like Venezuelan American. Cuban American. You should call them by whatever country. Guatemalan American. They're not one group. We are one group with one lineage, a shared background, a shared history. We still outnumber them. The question is, what do we do with that political power? If we did something with it and woke up and said, listen, it's all about our agenda, everything changes. And I don't even need all of us. Like, if we just had a critical mass, we talked about critical mass before. That's it. That's all we need. And that question still needs to be answered. So thank you, fam. I appreciate it. I appreciate you calling in. But the question that still needs to be answered is whether or not we can reach critical mass. That's it. That's really all we need. Really number critical mass. That's all. That's it. You don't need everybody. Stop thinking you gotta win over everybody. You ain't gotta win over everybody. You gotta win over enough people. That's it. I'm going now to 281. 281. What's your name? Where you calling from? And what is on your mind? You there, 281?
Yes, I'm calling from Texas, but I was raised in Florida.
Okay.
And what I'm confused on, why are you still backing Democrats when you know they don't like you? They could care less about you. The only president in history that has helped the black people is Donald Trump. Why would you?
Let me ask you a question. You don't think LBJ helped black people?
Pardon me?
You don't think LBJ, President Lyndon Baines Johnson, you don't think he helped black people? You said the only president in history.
No.
You don't think
he didn't even compare to what Trump has done. And Biden, look how racist he is. His whole background. He's been in D.C. for 47 years. What has he done for y'all? What?
Well, listen, I didn't vote for Biden, and I told everybody, but I didn't vote for Trump either. I told everybody to leave the whole top of the ballot. Democratic down ballot is what we did. So I didn't vote for Biden. But I also didn't vote for Trump. So,
okay, I didn't vote either. I'm just trying to ask you, and see, ask why that you for 400 years, I grant you, it was bad, but I'm Indian. They took our land.
But hold on. Weren't there Indians who owned slaves?
I'm an American Indian.
Yeah,
I was born in Florida. I have great grandmother.
I'm not disputing that you. I'm not disputing that you're Indian. I'm not disputing that. I thought y'all called yourselves Native Americans now, but I'm not disputing that you're Indian. I'm not disputing that at all. But I'm saying Indians also own slaves.
I'm sorry.
No, Indians also own slaves. Okay, but the second part about it is this: we built America. Y'all fought America. Now I'm not saying y'all was wrong to fight, but there's some consequences to fighting as opposed to building. That's all I'm saying. So I'm not saying that you didn't sound that. I don't know what that sounds like, but I'm confused. But I'm not saying that I'm not saying I didn't support Biden. I think Biden is a racist. I'm not disagreeing with that part of it. But I don't see anything redeemable necessarily in Trump either. So that's kind of where I am. But I never implored anybody to go vote for Biden. Like, that wasn't my thing. I understand he sucked up the segregationists, and he is still the man. I think he is still the man that he always was.
Okay. You don't think when Trump gave all the money to the black colleges was a good thing?
Well, all the money is questionable, but I think it's good to help black colleges, yes. But you also gutted the budget. So, like, so much of the stuff that we use in terms of what undergirds us as a group in terms of like housing, in terms of HUD, in terms of credits and all that. You gave a bunch of money to the top that we could have used as the group that we are. So let's not go too far. I have the budgets. I did a whole show about how he zeroed out a lot of that and how a lot of money went to the whole top of it. And that's what Republicans tend to do. Whole lot of money went to the top. That's a problem. That's a problem for me.
You think that all the money went to the top?
I got the charts. I got the charts to show it. No. I got the charts to show what his budget does and did. I got the charts to show it. I don't like. So I have. It's not about what I think. I just do data and I do numbers. Too much of that money went to the top 20%, top 10. It didn't go, and you zeroed out different budgets. And when we talk about the fair housing, it was Trump that said we're not gonna have no low income housing in suburban neighborhoods. Who you think he's talking to? It was, So I understand another side of Trump that I'm not happy with, and I'm not gonna vote for. I didn't like either person at the top of the ticket.
Then why didn't you write in a vote?
I did. I wrote in ADOS. I went to vote. I vote locally, and I wrote in ADOS at the top of the ticket. But I didn't vote for either one of them. I voted locally all the way down. I voted down ballot.
But you're unhappy with the people that you were just talking about, like the Reverend Wright having connections.
Warnock, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You think Loeffler is just what? Holding back money that she could be given to y'all?
I don't want none. I don't want Loeffler's money. I think she held back. I think she traded a bunch of stock and did a bunch of lowdown stuff. Yeah, and I think she's gonna side with Mitch McConnell on what. So I have issues with her too. I have a lot of issues with her. I'm not saying I don't have issues with
There's
Warnock.
a lot of them that did that. Zuckerberg's been doing it in the past 45 days.
I'm not a fan of him either. So that's just it is what it is. I'm not a fan of like what goes on there either.
So what are you? Okay, tell me what you are a fan of.
I'm a fan of my people getting justice. That's what I'm a fan of. Now, I'm not a fan of any individual person. I'm a fan of an agenda. I'm a fan of a very specific agenda. I'm not a people person in terms of I support. I just love this candidate. Oh, this person is wonderful. I'm an agenda-driven person. That's who I am. That's who we are.
Okay.
But we don't fall for the okie doke. And I appreciate you calling in because we don't fall for that. We don't fall for
right.
On either
I understand
side.
that.
Yeah, we don't fall for it on either
Did you know the percentage of the black voters left Democrats to vote for Trump?
Yeah, I do. I saw it.
13%.
I think that was largely a protest vote because Biden didn't give us anything to vote for. He just told us to vote against Trump. That's never going to be good enough. That's not an agenda. That's you scaring us as opposed to giving us an agenda. So I think those people left because they said Biden doesn't want to give us an agenda. He just wants to scare us about Trump. So I think that's why that happened. And I think they tried to bring Kamala in there to bring everybody in terms of identity politics, and that didn't work. But I appreciate you calling.
Well, Jesus 30 as they come.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. I'm going to try to get to some other callers, though, but I don't disagree. If you go and watch some shows about Kamala, you'll see I don't disagree.
I just wanted to tell you, tonight was the first time I've listened to you, but I did subscribe.
Okay.
And I will be keeping up with you because I really enjoyed your show.
All right. Well, go look at that old Kamala show. You'll see we're not fans.
All right.
All right. Appreciate
you. Have a good night, and God bless you.
God bless you. You have a good night as well. Thank you so much. See, we get some interesting calls around here. Things gonna change around. But anyway, let me go on. I didn't even get to see what the chat was saying. The chat probably done went wild. Anyway, let me get to the next caller. Yeah. We don't do stuff people think we do. We chart our own path forward. And shout out to you for calling. Appreciate you. Let me go to my next caller. Who shall it be? 404. I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? And what's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm pretty good. This is Renee calling from Atlanta. So I called in before.
Okay.
And I didn't catch the whole show, but I want to tell you my thoughts on Warnock as a candidate.
Okay.
So I'm a native like you are, and for me, he's problematic, and I'm going to tell you why. So I'm a health educator
Okay.
at a large hospital, and Warnock's church is located in the heart of downtown, right?
Okay. Yes.
In the heart of downtown, if you see so much ADOS struggle, not just here in Atlanta, but any, major hub. If you don't see the struggle anywhere else, you usually see it in the downtown area or nearby, right?
Yep. That's true.
So with that being said, how does he only come out mainly speaking about healthcare and prison reform? Like, yes, that's a part of ADOS life, but it's not everything. And my issue is not just him, but the black church in general, for all the money and millions of dollars that they have accumulated from black people, poor black people, for years and years and years. They have nothing tangible that they have done to improve the lives of black people, whether it's job training. You have business owners in black churches. I have never heard anybody talk about any training programs, any apprenticeships, none of that. And so my issue is not just Warnock, it is the black church in general. Like, how do these pastors accumulate all this wealth? Because that's wealth. It's tax-free. And the only thing you do for ADOS people is give them food and use clothes. That's not enough.
Woo! That's a lot. I think I kind of go to something I said before. Like, we are a group that does not hold people accountable. That's what we are.
You know,
go ahead.
At first, I was going to support Warnock because I know people that go to his church. They were telling me, "Oh no, Renee, he's very much about social justice. He's about, advocacy in a real way." And what's interesting is I went to an event about mass incarceration in his church last year, and Michelle Alexander was there. Do you remember when you talked about how she pivoted?
Yeah, I remember that episode. I remember that show.
So I think it's interesting that she was at that event about mass incarceration that he hosted with two other Central Park 5 guys. And in many ways, it seems like he's pivoting the same way, or he is not who he say he is. So it goes back to because how are you in Dr. King's church and you cherry picking your advocacy? That's not what we're gonna do.
Cherry pick. That need to be on the
shirt. I don't get to cherry pick how I advocate for my patients. I have to advocate for them all the way around.
Wait a minute, that's a word. You gotta stop. Cherry picking your advocacy. Ooh-wee. People love just to use them love quotes from King. They love just love quotes from Jesus, love quotes from the Bible. It's a lot more in there though. You better go all the way through it. Cherry picking your advocacy. Ooh, now you can continue. I'm sorry, I had to slow down on that one. That was a good one right there.
No, but seriously, that's why. So I left the church like a few years after I graduated high school, and it was because for all the money and energy that black people, poor black people, put into the church specifically when they are down and out and their neighborhoods are down and out. None of this money was used to either build or maintain community because these churches had financial power to even stop gentrification to some degree. And it's kind of like they just been asleep at the wheel, and I'm tired of it. So this has been an issue for me, not just with Warnock, but the black church is not the black church it used to be in the 60s and 70s.
Ooh, well, you can find some good ones, but it's a needle in a haystack time sometimes in the black church. Needle in a haystack time. Shout out to Dr. Cosby, but I appreciate the work he does. But like I think it's needle in a haystack time. Far too few people or far too few pastors want to do what the church calls you to do, especially if you preaching to ADOS. If you're preaching to ADOS, understand who you're preaching to. You're preaching to a group that's been oppressed for 400 years. The last thing we need you to do is run around and act like you white. That's not what we're doing because given the experience of who we are, that's not who you are. So what kind of game are we playing? What kind of Mickey Mouse stuff is this? This is ridiculous. And I agree with you. They're just running away. And they're running away people who would want to be in the church. You're running away people in the church with your lack of courage to speak on issues that are important to them in terms of their survival. And you won't even use the biblical principles that are there to undergird that kind of advocacy. That'll run people away. That'll certainly run ADOS away. You absolutely right about it. Don't cherry pick nothing.
Well, I just wanted to thank you for taking my call, and I'm going to have to hold my nose, and it's going to be a hard no on Warnock. He is too problematic. He won't just call a thing, and I can't do that.
Ooh, okay, I heard you. She said he won't call a thing. Thank you, fam. I appreciate you calling in. That's a great way to end it.
Thank you.
Thank you, fam. He won't call a thing. That's what she said. She said he won't call a thing. Well, I'm just running for... Everybody needs health care. It's a pandemic. If you don't get your butt out of King's Church, you should have been gone if that's your thing. Everybody needs... Anyway, let me get to the next caller. I'm going to 804. 804, I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
How you doing, Yvette? This is Leo Carney. I'm calling from Biloxi, Mississippi. It's 80 West Mississippi. How you doing this evening,
I'm doing pretty good. I can't complain. COVID-free. How are you?
I'm great. This I just wanted to call in, just let you know, this conversation is eerily similar to the Mike Espy campaign that that we just had here in Mississippi. Mike Espy ran he ran the same milquetoast campaign, honestly, that I think Warnock is running in Georgia. Our chapter, we approached Mike Espy on 3 different occasions, and each time we approached him, we got a little bit better response, but overall, it just wasn't the type of support that we needed to get. His whole thing is when I first approached him in a rally he had in Hancock County, Mississippi. I asked him about reparations. Did he support that bill? And at the time, we were pushing HR 40 and Senate Bill 1083, and he told me no, straight up, no, I don't. I do not support cash allotments for reparations. And after a little pushback online, we berated him a little bit. The second time I saw him, he said, I know you. He said, you've been very critical of me, and he's like, well, I support the Senate Bill 1083, but I don't support cash allotments, and I'm gonna tell you why. And he says, I want to focus on the bottom 1/3 of Americans. And basically he was his target audience was the 22% of white voters that he thought he was going to get here in Mississippi, and we turned out 89 to 90% for Mike Espy, and he still did not win the election because again he came out with this milquetoast campaign. He ran on health care and Medicaid expansion, and that still didn't garner any support from these white voters here in Mississippi. And I'm telling you, Warnock is probably going to face the same thing. They don't want black politicians, obviously, in these states. Just to be honest with you, what do you have to do? And then Mike Espy, instead of him, he ran on, being the first black, this and that, after we got on his behind, he started running like that. But it was too late by then. The DNC didn't start pouring money into the state until September. Hell, so he didn't have the support, honestly, that he should have had, and he didn't target, the black community like he should have, in my opinion.
Well, you know what? I think one of the things that happens, and I think you're right. I think, and then he doesn't. Well, I don't support it because I'm just going to focus on blah 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 blah. That's not going to work. And the dead is the dead. Like at a certain point, we as ADOS, I expect America to be a better America. I think I have a right to call on it to be that, right? But,
right.
And I think we absolutely do. But we can't call on America. How can we call on America and white America and brown people who have been made white, right? By normalization. How can we do that if we can't do it ourselves? Like the debt is the debt. It's not, well, I just kind of favor. How is it that everybody else understands that the debt is the debt? When it refers to other groups, we always understand we've paid reparations in this country, but all of a sudden you're going to tell me that, well, I know it's a debt and but I want to do this. We can't even we can't even undergird our own politics. Understand that's a failure. Yes, you can move to class-based politics after we do this. After the debt is paid, we can certainly pivot to that direction. Or if you had something where you had some class-based stuff and reparations was part of the bill, okay, we can knock ourselves out and get them both done. You can't do it any other way though. It's a debt. You can't tell me like, well, I want to pay my bills, but let me tell you what I want to do first. Any bill collector's gonna tell you, ma'am, sir, this is not how we do this. When I just don't necessarily really understand that. But, I agree with you that that's kind of the direction that these people go. And they don't understand racism. So these white people, a lot of these southern places don't really even want to see your face all the time. Right? So, like, either you do it for us or you don't do it.
That's why we getting ready to, and we have already done as far as drafting this reparations bill for here in Mississippi. It's completed. And so now the next step is to get, and we do have some people on board that's willing to sponsor it. We're just going to take matters in our own hands, you bet. And so I thank you for your advocacy. You and Tone both, y'all have done a yeoman's effort, and I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. I heard that word yeomans in the half has never been told. They were talking about they were supposed to be yeoman white men in Kentucky. I giggled. Anyway, let me go to my next caller. I'm going to 817. 817, what is your name? Where you calling from? And what's on your mind? You there, 817? 817. 817. Well, I think 817 left to get another libation or something, so they're not here. So let me go to 216. 216, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Moselle Taylor calling from Cleveland, Ohio.
What's going on?
I just want to say I just thank you for all the work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
And the people, I just can't even fathom why they think they can stand in line for us, and you're not even a slave from. You just don't know what we've been through.
Mhm.
All the things that God is sending us through, and you just don't recognize it. You know better. They know better.
I agree, fam. They absolutely.
And then when you know better, you should do better.
Yeah, but they don't.
We don't have to tell you our story. Y'all know our story.
Mhm.
They know what we've been through. Y'all know y'all built this country off our backs. Y'all know what y'all did.
Mhm. They absolutely do. We got history books for
We
it.
shouldn't have to hide and cover up nothing.
I agree.
The devil is a lie.
I agree, fam. I wanna thank you for calling in. I absolutely appreciate your call. And the devil is a lie. You gotta make the devil a lie though. Ain't gonna be a lie on his own. You gotta prove that thing. 850, what's your name? Where you calling from? And what's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, Yvette? This is JP.
Hey, what's going on,
I'm calling
JP?
from Maryland.
Hey, what's on your mind?
Hey, it's my second time calling. Once again, just wanted to thank you and Tone for all y'all do. It's a great show.
Appreciate it.
Very much needed conversation to have. I just had a couple of thoughts about your point concerning like Warnock. In terms of like Warnock, like what you were saying, and his responsibility to us and to the truth of our history. Warnock, in my opinion, is the representation of the dereliction of duty of the black church in terms of their concern more so with like the prosperity gospel rather than with truth. And we talked about this before in some of your older videos concerning like Reverend Al Sharpton, the Reverend Without a Church. And,
yeah, corner preacher. He corner street preacher.
Exactly. Like it shifts away from being, a rebel rouser to a black gatekeeper. And I went back and I watched, that 2020 60-minute interview he did back during the Obama era. So just kind of caught up on all of that. And it's just disgraceful, like to that legacy of, black liberation theology and all of that as well. Second point I was going to say is just kind of reiterating your point. Like, how are you going to be the pastor of Ebenezer Church, the legacy of Dr. King, who took a bullet for preaching truth, like holding white supremacy, like responsible? How are you going to do that? It's just impossible for you to do that, and it's just a representation, like I said, like just their dereliction of duty and the comfort that they feel like we have to, appeal to like white people in order to get our point across. And that's why I'm so grateful for ADOS, because this is the revolution, and we're going to be able to hold America hostage in terms of taking what we need to be made whole.
Yeah, kind of like on our own terms, though, right? Kind of like on our own terms, though. Like the greatest thing that's happening right now is that there's a I don't know how best to say it, but we don't have nearly as many gatekeepers now. I guess that's the best way I can kind of say it. So, and you're seeing that kind of disruption in everything, right? Like you're seeing that kind of disruption everywhere, right? And so what that means though is that I don't like all these people on CNN or whatever, like they don't matter in terms of how we think. So you don't get to do that anymore. You don't get to be that person anymore. That's just kind of what it means.
Right. Absolutely. I just probably like two more points, but in terms of like you have to understand where you are, like, and what your role is. Like, you are in Georgia, and you have to understand that history, and you have to speak to white supremacy, because that's what Loeffler and all of these people who are backing her and sharing all of these posts on Twitter, that's what they represent. You have to understand that Georgia is the state that had the second most lynchings in the country, which was from like 1877 to about 1950. And then me and my family, we read a book called The Cross and the Lynching Tree by James Cone, who was like, the father of Black liberation theology. And in that book, on page 26, there was a pastor by the name of Charles Johnson. And this man was in Swainsboro, Georgia, which is the same county, Burke County, where my ancestry is from. We're from Waynesboro. But he actually preached his own funeral service before they lynched him. Like, the level of courage to have to do something like that, like, that is far from what we are doing now. And our ancestors was under, like, the worst form of white supremacy. So I just thought that was a very interesting point. And then the last thing, in terms of the history, Mary Turner, you know the story of Mary Turner. Like, you have to use the truth as a weapon against white supremacy when you're on that stage. You have to, because that's the only way you defeat them, is with the truth. And you're a pastor, you know how to use your words to do that. Go out there, give a press conference, put them on Front Street. If people, posthumously after the death of King want to say, oh, we love King, and we know that they hated him, well, make them confront that. Because you're the pastor of that church. Make them confront it. So that's just my thoughts.
Those are good thoughts, fam. I appreciate that. Make them the takeaway, fam. He said, appreciate it, fam. Thank you for calling in. Make them confront it. You running away from your own truth. Who is served by you running away from your own truth? Child, don't nobody run away from their own story. Anyway, I'm going to 202. What's your name? Where you calling from? What is on your mind?
Miss Carnell. Honorable Miss Carnell, thank you for having me. My name is John Muller. I'm calling from Washington, D.C. I am actually a Germanic American for ADOS.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
My dear big brother, Mr. Honorable Justin McNeil, who went to Morehouse, has recently, within the past couple months, informed me about your movement. And so my approach is history. I've written a book about Frederick Douglass in Washington, D.C. I've been a reporter in D.C. for a decade. I actually contribute to the Washington Informer. Shout out to the Washington Informer, www.washingtoninformer.com, published since 1964. So I say that, Ms. Carnell, because I come to your show as, I guess the language would be an ally, as Germanic Americans for ADOS. And I don't I don't want to tell my entire life story because this is your show, Ms. Carnell, but I just think that this is a very important movement, public education, public service, political education that you are embarking upon or have been doing work. I'm honestly, Ms. Carnell, please apologize. I'm not totally familiar with Justin. I've watched a lot of videos. I've tried to educate myself because this is something that honestly I said I should stay in my lane when I'd heard about this, like Tariq Nasheed, Umar Johnson, all that garbage. And also, Umar Johnson is in no way connected to the Frederick Douglass family. Let me just say that. But that's the problem, I think, Ms. Carnell, is that there's a competition for, like, hoseping. I don't really even know what that is, but that thing, it's part of this whole distraction garbage that prevents people from getting, I think, aligned on the, attention to detail that you are hipping people to. It's great to go out and protest and do performative bullshit in D.C., but do you know about the ANC meetings? Do you know about the, who is the administrative stuff that we need to get involved with? And on the historic perspective, my friend might get mad at me, but I'm sorry, I will say it. The terminology is the white girl mafia. The white girl mafia controls the history in the state of Maryland, from the Maryland Historical Trust, which is an office of planning, the Department of Commerce, which is Maryland Tourism, and they tell a story about Tubman and Frederick Douglass, and don't know sugar, honey, iced tea. Since you're a Southerner, I won't curse on your show, but they don't know sugar, honey, iced tea. And ADOS folks are not in these positions. They might be the receptionist, maybe, but they're not the ones that are, Miss Carnell, I mean, it's diabolical. Miss Carnell, all due respect, you know the corners, you know the community. I do as well. They can look me up. They can look you up. We have our JSTOR, our citations, and you've been doing this work for a long time. And my friend and I have been friends for, he'll say, we've been friends a long time, since we were teenagers. And so this is just really important. I cannot express my appreciation as a Germanic American for the political education and the way in which you communicate it. And I mean, we can break it down. Michael Steele, okay, in Maryland, his brother-in-law was Mike Tyson. He's a Bama. He's a fraud. He grew up in D.C. Lieutenant governor of Maryland grew up in D.C. He's a Republican. Maryland, Democratic Party is half black folks, but there's not have been a black gubernatorial candidate. Anthony Brown lost to Hogan. Hogan is now out there with this Madison Avenue stuff. We got issues in Maryland. I know you're a Southerner. You have listeners all over the state, but and the guy just previously called it was Maryland. So we have a lot of people in this metropolitan D.C. area, 301, 202, that are talking about the work that you're doing. So I just applaud you. I'll get off the line because it's your show.
Thank you, family. And, I appreciate it, though. As somebody who used to have both a 301 number and a 202 number, I absolutely appreciate it. I absolutely appreciate it. So, I appreciate that. And, spreading the word is important. And I don't think that what's going on there ain't similar to what's going on here. And I to the extent that we can get the word around, that's wonderful regardless. Let me try to get to a couple more calls really quickly. I'm going to 215. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, Yvette. This is Kim from Philadelphia,
Hey,
and
Kim.
I've called in the past. It's nice to get your show again. I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you. Thanks to Tone for everything you're doing, as always. But I also just wanted to add that here in Philadelphia, we've, over the years, had quite a few problems with our politicians. And I know this time around voting was a little difficult because I've been a part of some of the Zoom calls that they've had with us. And one of the first things I wanted to ask some of our local politicians was, how do you feel about reparations? And when the young lady came on the phone to take my call, she said, can you tell me briefly what you would like to ask? And there were like 4 well, really it started with five politicians in my area that were on the line, and I told her I wanted to ask them how they felt about reparations, and she said, "That's it?" And I said, "Yes." And I was on the phone for like an hour. I listened just like I was listening to your show.
Yeah.
And then just before, I guess, all of a sudden they started dropping off. They started saying, "Well, I have to go. I have a meeting to go to. Thanks to everyone," and, all this kind of stuff. So I never got a chance to ask. But when I did go to the polls, and I went in person because I felt like I needed to do that. I didn't want to do a mail-in ballot. Some of my family did mail-ins because of the COVID and the fear of that. And I just said, look, if people can go out and riot, if people can go and be all about taking care of everyday business, if people can, your essential workers, go to work. I call them the expendables, actually, because how are you an essential worker when your immune system may not be any more different than anybody else's, and you can get this thing, but they want to put that nice, cozy word on their, essential to make you feel like, okay, yes, I'm really doing my patriotic duty, when in reality you're actually risking your life every day to go out and, do what you do. And I'm very grateful to them. But I say this to say, when I went to the polls, where I live, there was no Republican representation. And I felt like, in some of our urban areas, we need to have diversity. You have to have diversity. We cannot keep voting the same way that we vote for, I don't know, the last 60-some years, because in Philadelphia, if you look up our politicians, a lot of them have been corrupt. I voted Shaka Fatah in as much as I could vote him in, and then come to find out, and he was our congressman, and he was doing all the things he was doing. His wife is now going into, doing work with Alzheimer's and everything, and trying to make a living for her family, and his son and his wife.
But let me just ask you a question, because I think sometimes the reflexive thing to do is just say, let's just vote the other party. Couldn't there also be somebody in that slot who may be compete against the person? Because what you see more, I think, in Democratic races is just you'll see a bunch of slots where nobody ran against the person, right? Especially locally.
Right.
So you'll see a bunch of slots where there's not another Dem to run against this Dem for local stuff. I'm not talking about huge stuff right now. And so wouldn't it since black people mostly vote Democratic already, we're already in that box and we should own that party, wouldn't it make sense for somebody else to vote against those people early in the primary before we get to the general?
You would think so, but here is so cliquish. Here is, I can't speak for the whole country, but I don't know what's going on with Philadelphia, but we have a real issue here, and if you've ever been here, you'll see it. It's very visible. Mm-hmm. And like a previous caller that you had, she was talking about how she works in the medical profession. When I go in our metropolitan area, you can tell ADOS from everybody else. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like we're the ones homeless and in the streets, and everybody else is just walking by. I think they get amusement from seeing us dysfunctional. I think they get amusement from seeing us arguing and bickering amongst each other, because we're sort of like that redheaded stepchild that nobody wants, to talk about. And we're so bruised and hurt from history. And the way my family and I describe it is, our great-grandmother, the only one that we really knew, she was a Native American Indian, and her name was India. And the funny thing is, we never really knew much about her except what my parents told us about her. Mm-hmm. But she had a lot of issues. And my mother, she was saying things she remembered when she was 8 years old, how she would babysit them and the weird things she would do. But people don't realize they came out of a situation where they were, at the time, post-traumatic stress didn't exist as far as a term, but I used it for them because I said, it's like being raised by somebody who has gone through trauma, and then they're raising you. And now I remember my mother used to tell me, don't say anything on the phone, that you're going to regret or something, or don't be so outspoken, because you can get in trouble, or the FBI listens in on your phone call. It's weird how things are passed on to us. And so I guess the one thing I want to say, and I'm going to let you go, is that when people vote your conscience, vote what's best for you and your family, because we're 13%, right, of the United States as far as Black America, and there's not many of us, and we're not. I don't think we're going to unify the way people want us to unify, because we have different backgrounds. We come from different experiences, and everybody is kind of like, I just want to, live my life and get ahead and do what I want to do. I commend you, Antone. I have listened to you for years now, and I'm just hoping and praying that something will come out of the ADOS organization, and I don't want us to get distracted. I don't want us to fall in line with all this immigration nonsense, because now they're trying to say Asians are not people of color. And, I mean, it's like the young lady just said, you're cherry-picking different things here, and we're always overlooked, and until they can address us, I don't think they really want to address us, because we're sort of like that sore in the community that they don't really want to, do anything for. They rather see our demise than see our success.
Ooh, well, so, rather see our demise than see our success. Last word, caller.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said last word. I agree with you.
When I said they want to see our demise instead of our success. I just like I said, all I want to say to people is just, if I'm going to tell you, I am a Republican now, so I'm one of those people who switched. I switched this year because I got tired of just everybody in my community telling me, you have to vote Democrat. We got to get that crazy man out of there. And
see what y'all doing? Hold on 1 second, Colin. See what y'all doing? See what y'all doing with that? You got to vote Biden and bashing people. You running people Republican. See what you're doing? Y'all see what you're doing? You think you're doing something good, and you making people go and see?
Well, I know a little something about Biden, and I know a little something about Donald Trump, and I'm willing to take the risk with the other side just for, because I've been a Democrat all my life, and I'm tired of what goes on here in Philadelphia. We absolutely get nothing in our communities because they don't feel that they have to do anything for us. We're small. We don't matter. My sister lives in, this is the funny thing, she's a Democrat, but she lives in a Republican area, and it's so neat and clean, and they have trash pickup every twice a week, and everything is pristine where she is. And she said to me one day, she said, how could you switch and become a Republican? What's wrong with you? And I told her, no, she said, women have fought. She went on about the women's lib thing, and I said, guess what? No black woman in her right mind should be a feminist. There is no such thing as a black woman being a feminist. And the reason being is because since we've been on this rock, we have never had to beg our men to let us work. We have worked from the time we got here. White women have always begged their men, can I work, can I work? While we watch their children, clean their houses, and do everything. The only reason Lyndon B. Johnson gave us or did the welfare thing for us was because he was trying to trap us into a situation of voting for the Democrats.
I understand. Give me one last word before you go.
Oh yeah, okay. So anyway, all I'm saying is, folks, vote your conscience. Vote what's best for you and your family. And Yvette, thanks again. Thanks for letting me speak as a Black Republican, because I don't get that often. And have a good evening.
You too.
Bye.
I appreciate you. Thank you for calling in. You know, I don't kill Black Republicans, because I keep, you know, the funniest thing is, you know, don't know. You know, I may not agree, but I'm not gonna kill you. I'm not gonna kill you. We can disagree, in terms of that. But you understand what happens. This is kind of, some of this is the effect of benign neglect, whether I agree with it or not. It's the effect of Democrats deciding that we're not gonna do anything for ADOS. Some people don't vote. Some people decide they're gonna vote Republican, regardless of what I say, and I understand how that happens. And before I beat them half to death, I would want to ask the Democrats, why did you create the situation where this sentiment could flourish, right? That's what you have to do. That's why I don't. Let me just say this: you don't see. You can disagree, but you don't see. People always talk about division. You don't see white Democrats beating white Republicans half to death. We disagree, but we disagree, but I understand more about how you got there than I understand about white people, in the sense of the Democratic Party has left people, and I don't agree with the reflexive binary choice of, well, if I don't vote Democrat, you all know I don't agree with that, but I think we have to find a way to be a kind of agenda first group, a race first group, because we didn't invent race, they did, as opposed to just a party first group. So I'm trying to kind of build that bridge to where whatever we can do, we have to do. But anyway, fam, this is the end of the show. Hey, but I see the queue is full. If you want to talk, I will be here tomorrow at 9:30. It's only a call-in show. So call in with whatever gripes, some stuff that I may not have brought up, that was in the news, that I didn't do a show on or whatever. Tomorrow at 9:30, come here. When you come on, the lines will already be open. So if you want to call in when you see the show during the intro, you can call in there, and we'll just talk about whatever. It's fine. We'll talk about whatever tomorrow. Tomorrow at 9:30, the all call-in show. Please be there if you did not get in today. I see all of y'all didn't. I see you didn't get in. So if you didn't get in today, if you want to talk about something, this show or a previous show, please feel free to call in tomorrow for the all call-in show. That would be wonderful. Let me just say this: hit the like button if you are in here. Please hit that like button for me. If you want to donate brown.com, $breakingbrown, patreon.com/ycarnell. But please do not forget The Half Has Never Been Told. December the 10th, we will be reading that book. Please, cost you no monies to hit the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button. Cost you nothing at all. Hitting that bell to get notification costs you nothing at all. These are all things that cost you absolutely nothing. Ways that you can support the show. These are ways you can support the show for absolutely free. So please go to subscribe to Brown. Subscribe to brown.com to add yourself to my mailing list as well. All of those wonderful things. Do not forget, like I said, tomorrow night, do not forget to people, everybody, family, please wear your mask. They say we're going to have a heavy, hard winter coming up. They say the virus is just running around. It's just running around like a Muppet. You ever watch? I used to watch the Muppets as a child. I love the Muppets. I still love the Muppets. You ever seen the Muppet where the one whose hands and he's just running around? Yeah, that's what COVID doing right now, just running. So wear your mask. Force people to keep a safe distance away from you. We don't want no closeness. We're not shaking hands. We can do the little elbow bump, foot bump, whatever you want to do. We're not doing nothing crazy. So, fam, do that. We will talk tomorrow. But until then, please be easy breezy and take care of yourself. Take care of your family. And forget, tomorrow, let's talk a little bit about Thanksgiving, the holidays. If y'all going to be around people, I wouldn't necessarily be around nobody that might have COVID. But I'm just saying in general what that's going to look like, because I know some of you all are having struggles. And we have heard that on the show as well. So we'll talk about that tomorrow a little bit too.